When I was growing up, there was one cute doggy bottle that I remember very distinctly that was called the calcium supplement. My mom thought it would end all wounds. But obviously, now the choices out there are limitless. As a mom of two, there are so many times that I feel like, am I over supplementing my kids? Am I under supplementing my kids? Are there anything like unhealthy supplements or unhealthy kids' vitamins? D3, B12, didn't hear of all of this when I was growing up. So obviously now when I hear the deficient word, it gets me to think, what should my children really have as supplements, and what is okay, what's permissible? How can I empower myself to know that this is the right supplement for my child? And today we have with us two really, really important people to answer this question for us. And while most kids get adequate amount of nutrition from a balanced diet, but under certain circumstances, children may need to supplement. And if you have a lot of questions with regards to children's supplements and deficiencies and what should the back of pack be like, and read every back of pack ingredient with a microscope just like me, then this one is going to be an extremely useful conversation. We have with us today Dr. Sanjeev Reddy, who's a consultant and specializes in pediatrics, pediatric ICU, and neonatology at Manipal Hospitals, Whitefield, Bangalore. And we also have Nonita Mehta join us today. She's an MBA from the University of Sydney and has worked in the space of corporate wellness for the last 5 years. She's helping the workforce in many companies prioritize mental and physical health and healthy eating. She's also the director of Mumbai-based company Pandos, who has just launched their kids range of vitamins called Kiddos. What can that parent do to reduce the anxiety that the parent also goes through because the child is a picky eater? And more
Yeah.
importantly, for the right amount of growth, what would you recommend?
Yes. I think picky eating is relatively more like a cultural problem, I would say, and also it is more focused in certain cultures than the others. For example, I worked in UK where the eating process is kind of transferred to the children starting from the age of 9 months. So they are given the independence to explore the foods, so to try out all different textures, consistencies, the colors, shapes, everything. And the children are actually developmentally ready, starting from 9 months to explore all the different kinds of foods. So unfortunately, in I think cultures like so ours, so we tend to express our love by kind of trying to feed the children with our own hands instead of giving them the opportunity and independence to explore the foods and develop healthy eating habits. So this is more of a problem in the current generation than the previous generation. Like for example, when I was a child, we never used to have anybody force us to eat or anybody put food in the mouth. We always had the chance to sit with the other family members and eat like everybody else. So this is very important from a developmental perspective also. So children pretty much learn everything by imitation, by looking at so other people, which is mostly parents and others who are carers for the child at home, and also when they go to school, so they learn the things from the other peers. So if you don't give them this opportunity to kind of observe others and learn what they are doing, then children don't eat. And unfortunately, this is the scenario. So starting from 7 8 months onwards, so a lot of people I find they show a screen or mobile, distract the child completely, and trying to fool the child into eating food. So that unfortunately requires more and more distraction with passing time, and it becomes a big challenge after 1 year when the child starts walking. So no amount of distraction will make the child sit, and so that's when parents so really are at their wits end trying to feed the child. So what is the solution? The solution is you have to provide developmentally appropriate support for the child to develop a healthy eating. So like right from 9 months of age onwards, when the child is able to sit and explore all the semi-solid foods with their own hands and mouth, so you have to encourage that kind of habits, and you have to let the child sit and eat with other family members. So to observe and eat. Obviously, to for the child to learn healthy eating habits, the parents and others who are the carers in the family themselves have to eat healthy and let the child observe and so learn about this process.
Right. Nonita, that brings me to you. You are obviously in the space of a lot of supplements such as Kidos being produced, and this is an industry that feeds off this cultural gap that Dr. Reddy just spoke of. So tell me, how do you guys know that? How do you figure out the opportunity that here is a nuance, and how big is the industry now?
I think my answer to that would be whatever Dr. Reddy said is absolutely true. It does feed off the the marketing strategies and all of that, and the industry is growing every day, right? But at the same time, when it comes to supplements, again, and I stress on this, that parents need to firstly understand what their child needs, right? Having behavior outbursts, or having irritability, or having fussy eating actions can actually be a cause of something else completely. It's not just you give a supplement and your child is going to be all good, right? So go to a pediatrician, go to a doctor, understand the child's mental health as well before jumping onto any supplement, right? That's first. And secondly, when we kind of brought our product into the market, we wanted to tie up with the right people, because we knew that we have a whole big industry run by big brand names who are today trying to push this down commercially, right? But we wanted to kind of change that and move it away from that and make it clinical, where we speak to, and we have pediatricians and doctors who have approved the product, who like the product, who have given the product to the kids, and the kids are actually responding well to it, right? So I think the way to change the industry and the way we look at it is that yes, marketing is always going to happen, right? That is just the way of life and the way it is, and especially now living in such a prominent digital age, it's going to continuously happen. But at the same time, it's about the parent knowing that it's not about following trends, it's about understanding your child, and every child is different. As Dr. Reddy also put it, that every child requires different sort of attention and different sort of requirement. So understand your child, read the labels, understand where the product is being made. Today there aren't a lot of regulations around this in the Indian market, where it comes to people don't want to know where the raw materials or where the product has actually been sourced from. But please do find that out, because tomorrow it's only going to help you and supplement the this whole process. We can break this chain of this non-educational trend based consumption.
Has the role of nutrition and supplements really changed over the last 3 decades?
The supplements have to be understood as kind of medicines, so the nutrition basically is all plant derived. So most of the nutrients that we get for our sustenance, both the macro and micronutrients, so should be coming from the same source, the food. So the supplements are only necessary in special situations. So like whenever it is not possible to have a balanced diet to derive all the macro and micronutrients from the food, or if there is any special requirement like having a chronic medical illness, or if there is a problem with the absorption of the nutrients. So only in this situation, the supplements should be considered. But I do see people relying more and more on the supplements as in the form of medicines in the bottle. So as opposed to focusing more on a balanced nutrition to get all the nutrients in a natural way. So there is a definite change. And in fact, I come across a lot of parents asking, doctor, can you please prescribe something to make the child eat?
Yes.
So that's a very common question that we come across in the pediatric clinics, thinking that parents somehow have a concept that so children not eating can be improved by taking some kind of a medicine or a supplement,
Right.
whereas that is not actually true.
Right. Doctor, which actually brings me to my next question, that we are talking of a balanced diet in the times when we didn't have as many choices as families. Our mothers were largely at home, and therefore there was a lot of focus on a balanced diet. But today, when we're seeing a large number of parents, dual income households. We're seeing also the amount of choices that have exploded in the food space. Today, your child is not eating the traditional Indian thali, which is considered as a balanced diet. So therefore, the parent feels that if I'm not being able to control one aspect of it, and also I feel somewhere the parent is also um, kind of confused or overwhelmed, I would say rather, with the information of understanding macronutrients, micronutrients, which nutrients are getting absorbed, which are being rejected. So, as a parent, with that overwhelm, I sometimes find solace in supplementing my kids because I definitely feel that I'm not being the scenarios have really changed in
Hmm.
today's times. So, would you
Yes.
agree to that as well?
See, from time immemorial, so the diet has been the main source of everything that we needed for sustenance. So obviously, with change in lifestyle, we have kind of gone from getting things in a natural way to an artificial way. So the financial incentives that the companies, so manufacture the non-nutritional foods, so as kind of led the whole scenario in a wrong direction. And with the kids watching more and more screen time these days, and the marketing being directed at the kids with all the focused advertisements on the non-nutritious kind of foods, so that has made even more difficult, so in ensuring that the kids get a balanced nutrition, because kids will only like what they will watch on the screen. So the more time they spend on the screen, the more wrong kind of ideas they get about what is good food. So, and in a way it has become very difficult, so to ensure that kids get a balanced nutrition like the way we used to do in the past.
Right. In this pandemic, everybody seems to have become a doctor in many ways, and we've tried what our grandmothers tell us. We've tried what the WhatsApp messages tell us. We've tried what the doctors tell us, and all of that. We over supplementing our kids in any fashion.
It's entirely possible that, so in our zealousness that we have to make sure children get enough vitamins, we may be overdoing it. But as I said, so it's important to know what is the recommended daily allowance, and
Yes.
make sure that you're giving only the required amounts as a recommended daily allowance. So in a child who is normally grown also, if you just give the recommended daily allowance, it will be very unusual for the child to become overdosed in terms of toxicity. But so the vitamins, the fat soluble vitamins, the vitamin A, D, and E, so they can accumulate in your body if you're not being careful with how much you are supplementing your child. So whereas the B complex vitamins usually is not that much of a problem, so they always get out of the system even if you give in excess quantities. But when it comes to fat soluble vitamins, so and iron supplementation, for example, you have to be really careful so that you are not doing more than what is recommended on a daily basis. If for some reason you have a clear deficiency, like so vitamin D levels are way too low, so in that situation, after confirming with the blood test, so we have to usually correct the deficiency to an acceptable level by giving mega quantities of vitamin D on a usually a weekly basis for about 8 to 10 weeks, and then we resume giving them the daily allowance amounts subsequently. So
Right.
if you are really deficient and having symptoms, so because of a deficiency, so always follow a doctor's advice and do the right amount for the right period of time. And afterwards, you can resume the daily recommended allowance in usual quantities.
Doctor, which brings me to a very important question is, as kids, when we were growing up, we never faced this vitamin D3 and B12 deficiencies, which are a very, very pertinent, prominent problem in adults and children today. So how does one go about combating that uh, at right from an early age?
Yeah. So take one thing at a time. So vitamin D3 is usually synthesized in our own skin, depending on the amount of sun exposure we have. It is usually midday sun, about 15 minutes to about half an hour of adequate sun exposure in the midday will lead to enough synthesis of vitamin D in your own body. But it is not always practical. So more than just the sun exposure, how much of your body is exposed? So if you're fully clothed, wearing a hat and going and sitting in the sunlight, so you're not getting any light exposure, you're just getting exposed to the heat, which will not give enough vitamin D. So it is the right understanding what is the light exposure. If enough of your skin is exposed, then you will get enough vitamin D. And vitamin B12 is synthesized from the bacteria in the intestine. So, and the most important source of vitamin B12 in people who are eating a mixed diet, like vegetarian, non-vegetarian both, is the non-vegetarian. Because so over a period of time, our hygiene standards have improved. So we may not get enough vitamin B12 from a purely vegan source. So if it is if there is somebody who is eating only vegan food, then they should take a supplement of vitamin B12. If they are eating a mixture of both vegetarian and non-vegetarian, vitamin B12 is usually not a problem as a deficiency. When it comes to vitamin D3, so sun exposure is not always possible. So vitamin D can be supplemented quite easily. It can be taken daily, weekly, and monthly as a recommended daily allowance dose. So that can be easily supplemented if there is a problem getting enough vitamin D. So we have to remember also that vitamin D is not just a function of sun exposure. It is also a function of what is your skin complexion. In darkly skinned or brown complexion people, you need a lot more sunlight than in light skinned individuals. So for that reason, most of the Asian population and African population, if you do their vitamin D levels, even if they have adequate amount of sun exposure, so you will find that the vitamin D levels will be quite low. Whereas in the Western countries, who are fair complexioned, who have not that much sun exposure, their levels will be comparatively higher. Precisely for this reason, we usually supplement all newborn babies, so up to age of 6 months, if they're only breastfeeding, with a dose of 400 international units of vitamin D, so till the age of 6 months. Because most mothers in our geographical area would be deficient and they will not have enough of vitamin D in their own breast milk.
Right. And Nonita, that brings me to you. You've packed both of these amazing vitamins into your bottles. And what was the thought process behind it? Did you study that the Indian population would largely be deficient of these two?
Absolutely. So I think most people that I have known my whole life have been deficient of vitamin D, right? And living the lifestyles that we do, and especially with this lockdown, you're not going to get any sunlight, and especially kids are not going outdoors. So the whole idea was to obviously pack the calcium and vitamin D together because vitamin D also helps in the absorption of calcium and makes the bones stronger. So the idea was to bring both the products together in one bottle and have as much as we can in terms of the nutrients put together and packed together in one.
So it brings me to a question, a predecessor of this response. What are the kinds of symptoms we should watch out for if the child is B12, D3 deficient?
Take D3 first. So D3 is necessary for calcium metabolism. Okay, so basically for our bone strength and for also the nerve conduction and good muscle strength, we need the normal levels of calcium, which is regulated by the vitamin D. So depending on the age, so if you are having a really young baby, for example, less than 1 year, if you have a serious vitamin D deficiency, then the bone growth will become affected. So you may be able to see what we call a rosary bead appearance on the chest, where the rib bones join the breastbone. You may see a kind of beady appearance. You may see widening of the wrist and also widening of the ankle. So the soft spot on the top of a baby's head, it may take a long time to close up if you are really vitamin D deficient. Again, in older children, so in those who are started walking and those who are weight bearing, so you may see more obvious deformities in the weight bearing portions of your body. Like if you're age group where, from 1 to about 5 years, you may see the legs bent at the knee level, either inwards or outwards. So you may see an obvious deformity. So if you notice that, it is definitely a symptom that you need to take seriously and get the vitamin D levels tested, and then supplement accordingly. So in an older person, for example, the changes to see will not be not that obvious. So you won't be able to make out a person is vitamin D deficient from looking at a person. It is more subjective sensation. So feeling unduly tired, for example, having a lot of muscle aches, body pains, and not able to do things that you were doing earlier quite easily, like going for walks. So you may feel really tired. And also in the background of not getting enough exposure to sunlight, if you are a person who mostly works indoors. So in this context, so you have to suspect vitamin D deficiency and then get yourself tested and treated. So this is about the vitamin D. When it comes to vitamin B12, the symptoms and signs are more insidious. They develop much more slowly. So vitamin B12 is necessary for the cell proliferation. For all the cells to multiply in our body, we need adequate amounts of vitamin B12 along with the folic acid. So the most obvious place where you can see the effects of vitamin B12 deficiency is the development of anemia. So suppose a person may become develop paler, so it may look unduly pale. So if you look inside the mouth or the tongue, and if you pull the lower lid and have a look at the conjunctiva, so another look at the hands, you may see that the person is unduly pale. So this is one way of recognizing vitamin B12 deficiency, but it's usually a very late feature. And having said that, vitamin B12 in non-vegan, so people who are eating a mixed vegetarian non-vegetarian diet is very unusual. If you are a vegan, then even before you develop symptoms, it's a good idea to take supplements routinely, because at some stage you will become deficient if you are in a vegan diet.
Artificial sweeteners versus natural sweeteners, right? And doctor, we've seen a lot of names emerge even in the form of natural sweeteners, whether it is plant-based sweeteners or anything. One, how safe are they for children, and which ones, in your experience, really help?
Yeah. So the artificial sweeteners, there is a big debate, going both ways, about the benefits and also harmful effects for a long period of time. As it stands now, the artificial sweeteners, there is evidence to say that they will alter the gut microbiota. So gut microbiota is the normal kind of bacteria, the good bacteria that live in our large intestine, which is essential for the general health, for prevention of the non-communicable diseases like heart disease, hypertension, type 2 diabetes. So these good bacteria, so their numbers will get affected by consumption of the artificial sweeteners. So we have to weigh the benefit that we gain by consuming artificial sweeteners against the harms that potentially these so artificial sweeteners can cause to our body. And also, when you look at the natural sweeteners, if you are consuming the natural sweeteners in a decent amount, so in a not too excessive quantity, like if you're taking 1 or 2 spoons with your coffee or tea, so that is perfectly fine, as opposed to having regular sweets and overdosing yourself by excessively concentrated foods with the naturally available sugars. So if you are not taking too much processed sugars, so it is better to go with a naturally available sugar instead of an artificial sweetener, as far as the health benefits are concerned.
Right. And Nonita, I must ask you this, that um, are supplement brands today taking note of the impact of artificial sweeteners in their medicines and their supplements, especially for a brand like Heroes, where you're dealing with children, and therefore these can have immense long-term impacts on their health, like doctor said, whether it's their gut bacteria or NCDs. So how have you done it different?
I think most brands are taking acknowledgement of the fact that artificial sweeteners are not good for our consumption and are moving towards the natural sweetener route. When we, came up with the formulation of the product, when we wanted to see what the product was made out of, we were very certain that that was not even a question. We were not going to put artificial sweeteners in our product. We wanted to be safe for, women, children, men, everybody who wants to consume the product, and that's something that we're going to continue for all our products. This is not just for the kids range, it's also for the adult range that we're coming up with, that we want to make sure that we're moving away. So currently we use tapioca syrup as one of our natural sweeteners, and which has proven to be, it gives a very palatable taste, and at the same time, it doesn't allow the product to become too oily or sticky. And so that's something that we have gone with. But there are multiple sources of natural sweeteners today even available, so a lot of companies are moving towards stevia as it's the most, widely available source right now. But date syrup, other syrups are also being practiced with and researched with to see how they can be put into